Guys, welcome back to the channel. Happy New Year. For those that have been with me for a while, thank you for all your support. Or maybe you just joined us last week. I don't know. But I really appreciate all your support. I can't do what I do without you, and it means a tremendous amount to me. In this video, we're going to go over, we're going to call it the Camaro and Firebird Buyer's Guide, where we're going to go over each generation. Maybe you're a new enthusiast trying to get into the hobby and this is your first one, or maybe you're trying to sell what you have and buy another one, but you're not familiar with the other generations. We're going to break down some of the better generations to look out for if you're on a budget, and some of the good and some of the bad. So let's get into it. So who could resist going to the dealer and grabbing themselves a 2024 or maybe even a 2023 leftover Camaro? You know, the new car is so appealing, but there's not, because these cars stopped being built last year, there's not a lot of inventory out there in the sense of V8s. I think at the time of this recording, there might be a handful of V8s left if you're lucky. If not, if you can find a V6, because it didn't make any four cylinders in 2024, you'd have to try and find a 2023, which there may some still be out there. So you're stuck with a 6 or a 4, but that all depends on your drivability. And if you're looking for drivability and not something that you where you live in a climate you can drive it all year round, maybe that's an option. So if you're going to look for this new last generation Camaro current, according to Chevrolet's website at the time of this video, there were 48 Camaros in total. 8 of them were V8 cars, and I highly doubt that number is very accurate. So if you want to find something new, now is the time to get it. You might find a deal, but that includes all the high-end ones from Hendrick Motorsports, the 40th anniversary cars and everything. So that number is pretty vague. But if your expectations aren't high for options and whatnot, and you just want to get into a new car, maybe that's the option. We'll put the link in the description, and you can go check it out. And if you guys have done that, let me know in the comments. Because GM stopped ordering for so long and has stopped taking orders. Did you have to go out and try and find one last minute in 2024 or 2023 that you couldn't order? And how did you make out? So this one goes for just about all the generations. But if you want to live a little bit more on the adventurous side, you could pick up something from Copart. Both these cars were come off Copart's website. I can't remember what the silver one sold for, but the black one below here, it was a stolen recovery, and it sold for like $4,600. It had minimal damage to the vehicle, and you can get these titles fixed in most states. But if you have a Copart near you that you can go around and check the vehicle before you bid, it's probably ideal. But if you've ever bought anything from Copart, let me know in the comments below. What kind of luck did you have, and did it work out for you? So first generation, 1967 to 1969 for both Camaro and Firebird. Depending on what kind of condition you want to buy them in, if you want to buy them in turnkey ready to go, you're going to pay a pretty penny. These cars have always held their value. If you can find something that's in a little worse shape that you can repair yourself, it might be worth it. Most of those cars that are going to need restoration, they're going to need all new suspension, and to bring them up to current. But you can also modify them heavily. You can put in current LS engines, and you can put carbs on them, or you can make electronic injection, or you could put them back to bone stock, whatever. But again, the price is going to be all over the place, considering what kind of shape you want to buy, whether you want a turnkey or if you want to fix her up. So second generation, 70 to 81, these cars will accept just about any motor you can throw in them. From small block to big block, they will take them all. The silver Camaro on the bottom had a small block in it, but you could get them with a big block back in the day in the early part of the 70s. Again, these cars don't demand as much money as the first gen, even in really good shape. but they're still up there. It all depends on your budget and what you want. You want turnkey or you want something fixer upper. I tend to find that you can find some of these second gens uh, for a better bang for your buck if they need a bit of work or if they need a lot of work. You don't see a lot of rundown 69s, 67s, but to see some, some second gens that need a lot of work, and that's where you can save a lot of money and make it whatever you want. So the first gen and second gen cars by any means are not clearly, obviously, daily driver cars. But you know what? They are older cars and you can make them handle any way you want. Um, it all depends on what your budget is. So here's where it starts to get interesting because the 82 to 92 is the third generation Camaro and Firebird, and these cars are starting to demand more money. I used to daily drive my 91 Camaro, and then at a certain point we pulled it off the road and we completely redid it. Um, Not a full restoration, but paint, suspension, interior, and it turned out to be quite the car, and we won a lot of awards for it. It shows. Being the age of it now, I don't know that I would do it. I don't. If you found a good one, I don't know that I would ruin it because the car is becoming more and more worth it every day. Its value is just going up. If you can find one that's in decent shape, even the decent shape ones are starting to have big dollar asked for them now. Where they were kind of the redheaded stepchild, if you will, of the six generations, but now their value is going up by the month. You can still find the odd decent priced one out there on something that needs a little bit of work, and the interiors out of the upcoming fourth gens will fit in these cars. The tires and the rims will fit. I think they need spacers, but they will fit on the third gens. So if you can find yourself a nice set of leather Firebird seats, either out of a third gen or out of a fourth gen, it'll fit in both of these cars. I mean, if you have the later Firebird, you don't need to worry about it because you already have the fancy interiors. The Firebirds came with fancier interiors compared to the Camaros. But if you have a Camaro and you want to upgrade your interior, you can find a set of leather seats out of a fourth gen Firebird. It'll fit in it'll bolt right into the Camaro. So, um, the parts for these cars are readily available. There's lots out there. I mean, Hawk's third gen doesn't sponsor this video by any stretch, but I bought a lot of my parts there and they treated me really well. They are they're in North or South Carolina, and they did a phenomenal job when I was trying to find parts for my car. Another thing that comes up with these third gen cars is now we've seen some of them in the second gen, and I forgot to mention it, but we've seen a lot of them in the third gens. So they either come factory hardtop, convertible, which was done aftermarket by ASC, or you had factory T-top, or you had aftermarket T-top. And those are important things to remember because the T-tops off a factory car will not fit an aftermarket T-top car. So bear that in mind if you're looking for a weekend car and you need to find replacement parts. They are not all the same. Hey guys, if you enjoy our content, make sure you give us a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you want to support the channel, we're part of the Amazon Affiliates program. We make a very small commission on anything you buy in our store, but we got all kinds of cool shit in there, from accessories for every generation, Camaro and Firebird, books, you name it, and it's growing by the week. Really appreciate you guys. Let's get back to the video. So, fourth generation, 1993 to 2002. You now have a choice because the 1993 to 1997 had one motor, and if you're going with the V8s, even the V6s, the early V6s were a smaller V6, and then they went to a 3.8. Sticking with the V8, 1998 to 2002, they went with a different motor. The 93 to 97 had the top picture with the more shark nose to it, and the 98-02 is what we refer to as the catfish front end. There's people that love and hate both of these. Um, Starting with the 93 to 97, has a 5.7 first generation, or I guess would be the second generation LT1, um, which was a cast block with aluminum heads. Had some wonky things going on. Has reverse cooling in it, and the has is the new OptiSpark system, which had come out earlier in the 90s. I think they put it in the Corvettes. That OptiSpark sits behind the water pump, and they are prone to failing when the water pumps go, um, and they leak into the OptiSpark. And they've literally seen, not to deter anybody from this, but I've literally seen some of my friends' cars die mid drive on the highway where they had to like scoot over to the right shoulder. Um, Part of me likes the 90, 96, 97 SS front end, and part of me likes the 98-02 front end. In 1997, they went through a mid-cycle refresh before they swapped to the catfish nose, and you can get the what we call the newer interior, but the older front end. So that 97 SS up top would have a newer dash in it to match a 98, but it would still have the old motor in it and would still have the old nose in it. And then in 1998, they went to the catfish nose, and they went to a new motor, which come out, I think, a year or two prior in the Corvette, and that was the LS1. All aluminum motor, made more horsepower, and a lot of the distribution ignition problems were gone because they had separate coil packs for every plug, and just a much better motor. They have two distinctive sounds. The LS1 sounds a lot different than the LT1. Both can make awesome power. Um, I think I would lean more to the LS1, obviously, in the power department because it is more power and it's raw power out of the box. Again, in 2000, I think they put a truck cam in, but in '98, they had better heads. So you could technically still daily drive these if you were in the right climate. But again, even these are starting to, their value on these is starting to go up quite a bit. You can find a lot more deals on these fourth generation cars if you look on Facebook Marketplace, or if you happen to luck out at Copart. So the fifth generation, 2010 to 2015, these were exciting times as the car came back after being in hiatus for about 8 years. Really, for some of us, it was 6 years because we got to see sneak peeks of the car somewhere around 08, 07. We heard rumors in 06. So, but to the general public, it was 8 years. The GM had a lot of support from aftermarket companies like SLP, which would be SVE today, specialty vehicles. It makes that 1,000 horsepower 6th gen. And it was the first generation ZL1, which had an LSA motor in it. It was supercharged with 580 horsepower. Just great times. These cars can be found fairly reasonable online. They haven't really gained, with the exception of the specialty ones like this SLP ZL series below. That was a one that I drove, 575 horse. We had it at one of our shows. Phenomenal car, super fast, and great power. But overall, the V6 cars, these cars only come in V6 and V8, and this is where we see the big gap in power because the V6 cars had more power than the last year generation of the fourth gen 02. They were well over 300 horsepower for a V6. They come direct injected. They're more modern. They didn't start coming into more tech until the later end of, I think, 13, maybe, 13, I think, was when they come with the touchscreens. But you can still daily drive these cars if you live in a climate that'll support it. I daily drove my 2010, as you can see, and they were great cars in the snow. Um, but if you live in a climate where you don't have to worry about weather and that, absolutely you could daily drive these. There are lots of again, there are lots of deals on Facebook, at least in my area. You know, up here in Canada, you can still get a V8 car with decent miles on it for around 20 grand, and it'll be a great car for you. So, last but not least, the sixth generation, which was 2016 to 2024, and this by far is probably, some would say, the best generation out of the six, because of the tech, the performance of the car. Um, you could get them in 2016. They come out with a four-cylinder to attract some of the younger buyers, to get them away from a Genesis or an EcoBoost Mustang. And I don't think it quite went as well as GM had hoped. Mind you, there are a decent following of the four-cylinder Camaros, and a lot of people would say that there's no place for a four-cylinder in a Camaro, and that's just not true. I mean, you know what? There is a car for everyone, and the diehards will say, no, it's got to have an eight in it. Well, the four-cylinder guys will tell you that it may not be my cup of tea or your cup of tea, but the four-cylinder guys will tell you that they put down decent horsepower and they have great fuel economy as well, and it's a great everyday car. So certainly you could daily drive these cars. Moving into some extra options, was they come out with the 1LE Track Edition car. It came with a 4 and it came with a 6. It also came with the 1SS, or the SS1LE, and the last but not least, the ZL1 1LE. One of the fastest production cars up until, I think, the new ZR1. And it'll track performance data. It'll tell you all kinds of stuff about brake temperature, tire temperature, and it is built for the track. So you could absolutely daily drive these cars if you're in the right climate. I don't know that you'd want to do it with a ZL1, but certainly an SS, a V6, or a four-cylinder. They didn't make any four-cylinders, like I mentioned earlier in the video. In 2024, they were only 6 and 8s. But in 2023, you could still get a four-cylinder, and you could daily drive those cars easily, the 6 or the 8, or even the V8. But this is where the tech could come in, and some would say that the interior and the visibility got worse from the 5th gen to the 6th gen. But overall, a fantastic car, and like I mentioned earlier in the video, there still are some out there. You just have to lower your expectations as to color and what options it has in it. So I really hope that this video has helped you guys. Do me a favor, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you're new. And we really appreciate all the support for the channel. If you have any comments you want to leave it in the comment section about whether you've owned one, you're looking for one, or whether this video has helped change your mind on a few things and help your decisions.